Hey, everybody, and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I am really privileged to be joined today by a beautiful human being, the amazing Cathy Feenan. Cathy is somebody who's had extensive experience in business as a woman, but she has also had experience in so many different areas of life. Aside from being a mum and a wife, she's also a best-selling author. She is a speaker. She has done TED Talks. She's a mindset coach. And Cathy has come from a background of very limited self-belief. And she talks a little bit about this during the podcast episode. Something that I really, truly feel many of our listeners also struggle with, that feeling of low self-worth, of constantly speaking down to ourselves and feeling like we can't have those things in life because we simply don't deserve them. Cathy speaks out about this, and she is passionate about empowering women to grab hold of all of those things in life that they deserve, to enjoy the successes in life that is sitting there ready and waiting for us. I know that this is going to be a really empowering, uplifting, inspiring, and energetic episode for loads of people out there. So what I suggest you do is open your ears, open your hearts, and open your minds as you listen in to the beautiful Cathy speak a little bit about her journey and her passion, but also gives those all-important tips on what you can do to really grab hold of those successes that are sitting in front of you, those dreams and those aspirations that you have. How can you go on that road to grabbing hold of those things? So I know you're going to love this episode. I know you're going to love Cathy as much as I do. So tune on in, enjoy this episode. And like I said, open up your heart, because I think there's something in this for absolutely everybody out there. So enjoy, guys. I know you're going to love it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back in to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam, and today I am super excited to be joined by a very special friend and absolutely beautiful human being, Cathy Feenan. So welcome on in, Cathy.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me. I've been thinking about this all day as well, and I'm so excited to be here.
I'm really, really looking forward to this conversation. We had the pleasure of meeting in person. I'd say to be couple of years ago now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Time flies. And when we caught up and we got to know each other, you know how sometimes there are certain people out there you just instantly connect with and you think, I could just talk to this human for days and days and not get sick of it. And I really felt like you were one of those people for me. So I'm really excited about this chat.
Thank you. Well, I can't believe how quickly that time has gone as well. And here we are already.
Well, let's start by helping our audience get to know you a little bit better. So you've got a business, Life by Design. You are very familiar with the direct selling space, which is awesome for our listeners today. But do you want to tell them a little bit about who Cathy is?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm just your average, person. I'm in Newcastle in New South Wales. Ever since I was a 12-year-old little girl, I knew that I wanted to be able to make an impact in the world in some way, shape or form. And I've always found ways to be able to do that. My background is in corporate. So I used to work for a banking institution for about 13 years. And I'm also married. My amazing husband, Nick, we have had traditional businesses as well over the last 22 years. So very familiar with the entrepreneurial world and also the direct selling world as well. I really love that business model and what an impact it's made in my own life as well. I have a 17-year-old daughter who's just got her piece, so I'm super excited about that.
And maybe a little nervous.
Well, actually, yes, there's been some times I've been nervous, but I've been trying to calm myself down and think, this is her next chapter. So really excited for that. And, I just love having fun. I just love living life to the fullest every day. It certainly has been a journey of personal growth and development over those years as well. But I really love just, enjoying life to the fullest, being present, dancing. I love reading, love music, and spending time with my loved ones while I make that impact as well.
Oh, so good. Now, hang on. I want to go back to the dancing thing for a sec here. You talking about the sort of dancing where you got, your hairbrush in the living room and, you sing at the top of your lungs to your favorite song and you don't care if you're out of tune? Or are you actually dancing professionally?
Oh, you know what? I cannot dance. So I
Okay.
try to dance, let me tell you that. So my version of dancing may be hilarious to others, but I love it. I play full out. And I actually do it in the kitchen. So when I'm cooking dinner at night time, I have
In front of family members?
Oh, yeah, they often
Oh,
come and join me in the kitchen.
I love this.
And 80s music is my thing. So
Yeah, I'm with you.
the 80s tunes going in my whisk. I actually broke my whisk once, would you believe, from dancing and, having some fun.
It sounds like a really fun household. I'm probably a little bit boring for that. I only dance when my family can't see me. But again, like you, I wouldn't rate myself as a dancer, but it certainly feels good when you do it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Funny story around that, and I know that's not why we're here today, but when I was Levi, my youngest, was a baby, and I was not yet back at work. I was in a little old house, and I just moved in there. And I remember putting him to bed one day, and it was nighttime. I was getting dinner ready, and I just, an 80s song came on that just got me excited, got me dancing. And so I pulled out my hairbrush and I was, dancing around everywhere. The thing was, I was in my underwear.
Okay.
And I didn't have any curtains in this house. And so what I didn't realize was, and the next day, the next door neighbor knocked on the door and came over to introduce himself and his family and just let me know very nicely that when it's nighttime and the lights run inside my house, everyone can see everything. So, perhaps I might want to invest in some curtains or some clothing.
Oh, that is hilarious.
So anyway, didn't make it any less fun. Just
Too
something to
fun.
be
So do
aware
you
of.
draw the blinds now when you're out there dancing?
Look, I'm in a different house now, so not so
Yeah.
much of a problem. But I've got this attitude that, you know what, if they look, they're only going to look once, right?
Totally.
Greg doesn't feel the same way, so he's like, no, you must use the curtains anyway. I'm gonna, after this podcast episode, we're going to start getting crowds of people just gathering to see what goes on in Sam's house at night. Okay, moving on. So let's talk a little bit about social media now, Cathy, because social media is obviously such a big thing right now. But I am lucky enough to be friends with you on Facebook, and I see your posts coming up all of the time. You are so inspiring. And every time I see something that you've posted, I always feel just a little bit uplifted, a little bit more joyful. So I think this probably leads in a little bit to what you do, but can you share with us a bit about your mission and your business?
Yeah, so my mission is really about just empowering other women to find their self-love, to find their self-worth, and just deserving of really creating the life and the business that truly lights their soul up. I really do believe, Sam, that we're all here for a purpose. Each and every single one of us, we've got different talents and gifts and superpowers, and we all have different dreams and desires as well. But there's certainly a lot of stuff that just holds us back in our life.
Mm.
And my business really started from my own experience because I was, in the corporate world, as much as I loved working in human resources and helping people within that profession, I just knew that there was more for me. I just felt like there was a calling, that there was for more. And it's interesting because it was about 18 or 19 years ago that direct selling came into my life at that time where, I was really thinking, gosh, life has just got to be better than this. And so what I learned on my journey was that I just had some limiting beliefs or just some stuff why I was procrastinating all the time, or I was just busy going nowhere, and I had a lot of self-doubt, and I was actually that girl that had no confidence, if I'm honest with you. Even looking you in the eye when we're having a conversation at a conference or, on a Zoom, like it just didn't happen because I just didn't believe in myself. So through lots of mentoring and books and seminars and personal development and coaching myself over this last couple of decades now, I really truly feel like I've stepped into the highest version of myself and my true authentic self. And so I knew that there were a lot of women that knew that they had a calling, they have a business in their hands where they can create the business of their dreams to bring them security and that own sense of self as well, but also make an impact in the lives of others. And that's where Life by Design really stemmed from, was from my own experience.
Yeah, I love that. And so what sort of methods do you use to help others in that space?
Yeah, definitely. So I use lots of different frameworks. So we look at the framework as far as goal setting and really just getting clarity on what is that purpose, what is that dream, what is the outcome of the goal that we're wanting to work towards.
Yeah.
And we use a lot of, different exercises and different tools and resources where we can have a look at what are the fears, what are the doubts, what are the stories that are coming up that are holding us back in playing small. And so I do a lot of activities with the gorgeous souls that I have the honour of working with and serving. And then we also look at, creating that logical step-by-step plan so that they can stay on track all the way to the finish line and actually achieve their goals. So lots of different frameworks, exercise and activities that we actually get to do that deep inner work to step into that true authentic self and be unapologetic about it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. I love that. And you've said a couple of times now, I'm just going off on a tangent here, but you did mention earlier, when you're talking about dancing, that you play all out.
Yeah.
And you've just mentioned playing small. Do you want to elaborate on that for those that might be listening going, what does she mean by playing small, or what does she mean by playing all out? I've heard this terminology. I understand where you're going with this, but I think it'd be really great for our listeners to understand a little bit more about what that means to you and what it might mean for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So playing small really is about not stepping into the highest version of ourselves. We kind of play it down a little bit. We dim our light a little bit because we're too afraid of shining brightly in case we make other people, uncomfortable around us. Playing small often shows up with different symptoms. It might show up as procrastination and not actually taking the action. Perhaps playing small is not posting on social media, not being visible and actually sharing the message as well, or sharing, what it is that you want to share with the world. Playing small can also show up as far as that self-doubt, when we feel like we're actually doing all the steps and we're taking that action, but we're kind of busy going nowhere and the results aren't actually showing up as well.
Yeah.
But procrastination and self-doubt is a huge one where we just step back, and a lot of the times we don't actually take the steps to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really big one. I know for a lot of our audience, that's something that comes up a lot. And you spoke about, sometimes not posting to social media. I think that's a really big thing. And I hear a lot of people saying, people don't want to hear from me, or, I'll share on social media, but I won't share me because people don't want to see that. They don't want to hear that. And, from personal experience, I hear what you're saying. Like that used to be something that I did. And I'll often tell people that story. But if someone's listening right now and they're going, yeah, it's me, like I'm afraid to, I don't want to post on social media when it's something that's about me because people don't want to hear that. Or sometimes I hold back from sharing what I'm passionate about because, it's not important to everybody else. What's a piece of advice you could offer to someone who, would love to improve in this space or, gain a little bit of traction in this space, see some little wins here, prior to doing any further learning or development?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say to that, it doesn't matter where the fear is coming from. It's fear, it's that doubt, it's that concern or that worry that we have, Sam, about being judged by other people. That was a huge one for me. I was a people pleaser. I'm a former perfectionist as well. I still get caught out every now and then. So, I had a lot of those doubts and a lot of those fears of what would people think of me? Who am I to even share that message when there's a million other people out there, and just really challenging ourselves. And what I would say on that is just being aware and being mindful of, well, what is that story, and where is the origin of that story? Where is that actually coming from? And once we can identify where that story or that limiting belief or that fear is coming from, then we can go to work on actually interrupting that pattern so that you can step into your authentic self, because your people are out there and they want to see you. They resonate with you.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Um, so, Cathy, you mentioned before that you've been in traditional business. You've also got your own direct selling business, and of course, you're working with Life by Design as well. So you've got loads of experience as a woman in business, and you've mentioned a little bit of your past story and how you've come to be where you are today. Given someone who's got the experience that you have, and also given, who our listeners are, could you share perhaps 3 key learnings as a woman in business over the years that you have learned that you think perhaps might help some of our listeners as well?
Yeah, absolutely. My first number one key would be to ask for help. As we go through this journey, what I've learned is that we've all got we've got our own unique personalities, our own unique desires. But a lot of the challenges that we face as women or entrepreneurs in business, we all face very similar challenges. And often we think, I'm an adult, I'm a grown woman now, I should be independent, I should have this together by now. But the last thing that we need to do is to be sitting and suffering in silence and not actually breaking through those limitations. So, put our hand up and having the courage to be bold and brave enough to say, what?
I need help.
I'm stuck. I need some help, because there are people just like you, just like our listeners here together today, that love helping people and helping other women to really shine brightly. But we can't help and serve those women if we don't know that they're suffering in silence. So putting your hand up and asking for help. The second one I would talk about is, doing the things that you love in your life. We have so many different parts of our life that are important to us that, sits within our value systems, the things that we value the most. And my number one tip really would be, especially if you're an entrepreneurial woman, is to, yes, it's great to focus on your business. It's great to focus on yourself. But if our cup's empty and we are not taking care of ourselves, and we're not doing the things that we love, like dancing in the kitchen or playing out in the garden or patting our border collie dogs or whatever that might be, we just feel really low in our energy. We just don't feel good. And when we don't feel good, nothing seems to really flow, I've found in my experience and since working with lots of women. So do the things that light you up. If it's dancing, go do that. If it's hanging out with friends, go do that. If it's nurturing yourself and, not seeing the world for 2 days and you need a bubble bath, go do that stuff. Fill your own cup and give yourself the permission to allow the overflow for everyone else, because we just can't give from an empty cup. And then the third one I would say is just to be yourself.
Preach it. I like this one.
Just be unapologetic, because there's been so many times in my own life that I've tried being like other people. I've tried being like the girls that were in HR. I tried to be like the other people within my professions and within direct selling, and it just failed miserably because it's never going to work out. So just be you. And when you're yourself, it always works out.
Yeah. And look, anyone who's listened to this podcast for more than 5 minutes knows that's probably one of the things that I'm most passionate about, having people walk away from any interaction with us knowing is that one point, that it's number one, it's okay to give yourself permission to be yourself. But the other thing is, it's the only way you're going to be successful as well, because people are buying you, they're connecting with you. So I love that. And thank you for reiterating that one. I want to come back to your point number 2 for a moment. I've been at a point in my life in the past where, people said to me, go and do something for you, go and do something that makes you happy. And I remember someone saying this to me once, maybe about 10 years ago now, off the back of, again, having my youngest. I'd just gone through a divorce, and, there was a lot of life changes that happened for me at that point. And I remember thinking to myself, that's easy to say, but I actually don't know what would bring me joy right now, what would fill my cup. Now, I got a little bit of advice later on down the track that helped me to work some of those things out, but it felt for me like it was quite a journey to work out what I needed to do to fill my own cup. Do you have any tips for women that might be feeling that way at the moment, going, great, how do I work out what's going to bring me joy? Sometimes we forget how to tap into the inner child, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And, coming back to that inner child is a huge part. So a really great question that we can ask ourselves, well, what did I love doing when I was a kid?
Mm.
And, for me, it was things like, playing, and
Yeah.
we get to play. So how do you like to play? And it's an opportunity where we get to utilize our imagination. So sometimes when we're really stuck and we don't know what those answers are, but we're wanting to find out what they are, you might look at other people. You might see people on social media, or might see someone in the magazine or on telly or something, and something just resonates with you, and you think, oh, you know what? She's roller skating at the park. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So just, a great way to answer that is to just ask yourself, what would I do for fun? What would I love to do for fun? And then you might even just leave it. You could set that intention and just notice what actually comes up for you over the next few days and next week, because you're going to start to see things because it's in your awareness now.
Yeah. It was really interesting actually watching my kids at that time and paying attention to some of the things that they got up to and remembering, what it felt like when that was me as a kid. And it's, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go roll down a hill, but what it does mean is you can think about how do I, how can I translate that into something for the now? And, that could look like lots of different things. And, things like, for example, camping was a really big deal when I was a kid. I loved to camp in a tent. Now, all right, I'm with a husband now that likes to glamp, not camp. But, I took the kids and we went and set up, built a teepee cubby house in the backyard, and so there were some ways to translate that can still work as an adult. But it can be really hard. I find that particularly women in business, you feel like you have to show up to the world a certain way. You almost become really stiff. I often feel really stiff and have to shake it out, find a way to shake it out.
Totally. Exactly.
So, Cathy, we've probably got lots of people listening to this podcast that are women who maybe have dabbled, but perhaps are sitting on the fence going, look, I've thought about starting my own business, but I just, I'm not sure that I can do it, or I'm not sure that I'm cut out for this, or that I know what to do next, or maybe they're just procrastinating. Do you have some advice for any women that might be listening to this, or men, of course, we're speaking to the men too, but somebody who's thinking about starting their own business but hasn't quite made that decision yet? Have you got any advice for them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting because when I first started out in business 22 years ago, I had no idea, because my background was in corporate and that's all I knew. So there was lots of trepidation. There was a lot of uncertainty, and, I have no idea how to even run a business. And at that stage, my business was actually a recycling company at that particular stage.
Wow. Okay.
So cardboard and paper. And, I wanted to make an impact in the environment, and that's kind of where it landed us. But I had no idea, but I felt like I needed some kind of, yellow brick road. I felt like I needed a pathway. And so that's where my personal development actually started, was seeking out the people that had gone before me and looking at, okay, what are the results and the outcome that they've created from their business? And if that outcome is what it is that you're looking for, then again, reaching out and asking for help, asking for mentorship and that coaching. Yeah. Because a lot of the times we're trying to work it all out ourselves, the how to, in most cases, especially with direct selling, the yellow brick road and the strategy to success is completely there. Yeah. The second thing that I would really encourage you to do is to do the inner work, to overcome the beliefs or the things that we identify with that are actually holding us back in that procrastination as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a powerful one. I love what you said about the mentor as well. I think sometimes there's this assumption that, we need to go and pay somebody whose job it is to be a coach or a mentor. But some of the most powerful mentors that I've had have been people who, like you said, Cathy, have gone before, that have you say yellow brick road. Like I talk a lot about, don't reinvent the wheel. Someone else has already worked out the way. And people are often, like, all you can do is ask. People are often really generous about helping somebody else out to be successful, and some unbelievable people out there. And don't be afraid to reach up high either.
Yeah.
If there's someone you really admire who's maybe appears to be at the top of a chain somewhere, they're often the people that feel the loneliest because they're unapproachable and people don't come to them. So, sometimes reaching out to somebody like that and just ask the question, would you, could I just have a chat with you? Asking them to just give you a little bit of mentoring along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting because one of the, and it just reminds me of a limitation that I actually had on myself as well when I was reaching out to, those people that had gone before me and had much more success than I had on that journey. And, I often used to think, gosh, because they're at that level or they're at that point within the company that, they've got it all together, But what I realized is that this inner work, this personal development and growth, we continue to do that from, level to level of success. Every time we level up, every time we go from one plateau to the next, these people that have gone before us that are seemingly more successful than we are, they're actually still doing the inner work. That never stops. So, we're on the journey
true.
together.
Yeah. Look, everyone's always learning, and that's the thing. It's easy to forget, isn't it? You see someone and you go, wow, they've got it all together. And the thing is, they don't. And I think, it's great to look at someone who's been through some of the challenges you're going through right now, but understand that it's constantly moving. So keep watching them because they're going to be going through the thing that you're going through next. So,
yes, exactly.
You've seen lots of women, particularly in the direct selling industry, outside of the direct selling industry. You've seen people start businesses fail. What would you say is one of the greatest challenges typically that you see holding women back from achieving maybe their success in their business, but also the dreams in life that they want to achieve? Because really we do business because there's something that we want to get out of it.
Yeah.
What do you see is, one of the greatest challenges that holds people back from getting those dreams and aspirations that they have?
Yeah. It really comes back to that sense of self-worth and that deservingness of being successful, being afraid of not deserving to be happy, not deserving to be prosperous in love, in finances, in our relationships, in health. And so when we, building a business or creating success is never about getting. It's always about receiving. And so we, as women typically, and men, of course, as well, we typically give so much. We want to be of service in the world, and we give and we give and we give. But a lot of us have a challenge with actually receiving.
Absolutely.
So it's having the belief that you innately deserve success. You were born to be successful.
Yeah, that's it. And that's such a good point, but also such a hard thing for some people to hear, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
So if someone's struggling with that right now and they're listening to that going, well, that's easy for you to say, but I don't believe that I deserve success.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, how do I improve my self-worth? I know that it's something that is, again, a journey that you'll probably be working on for the rest of your life, as we all are, I think. But, what are a couple of little useful tips or tricks or suggestions that you could make to help someone maybe even be more self-aware in that space?
Yeah, absolutely. If we can really just start to just be aware of what we're saying to ourselves and what we're thinking. So from today, I really hope, my hope and my prayer for the listeners today is to really make one vow moving forward from today, and that's to stop criticizing yourself. To really make that vow to love yourself unconditionally. All the parts of ourselves wholeheartedly, the parts that are amazing about us. But, the parts of ourselves that we don't necessarily like, some of our behaviors, embrace it all, love it all.
Yeah.
A really quick way to really start falling in love with yourself again and deeply appreciating yourself is to look in the mirror, and just, the quicker that you can get to a place of saying, I love you and I deeply appreciate you, the more wonderful you're going to experience things in your life.
Yeah.
Things are just going to flourish because you have such a different perspective of yourself. And for some of us, that's really hard, Sam, because I was the girl that I couldn't look myself in the mirror, in the eye, and
Yep.
say, I love you. So if that's a little bit challenging and that kind of brings up some stuff for you, we get to choose. We get to choose. We make the choice to love ourselves. So you could start with, today I'm choosing to love you. And the
Yep.
more that we repeat that, the more that we do that, the more deep love and appreciation, to the point where it just becomes your belief. So your thought becomes your belief, the belief becomes the identity. And then you just get to a point where you just know you're an important human being and that you're here for a reason. So just start with, I choose to love you.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And look, I really encourage all of our listeners, absolutely, take that one on board, give it a go, because, again, having gone through that journey, it can be really, really hard. But also, I had a little realization about a year ago with my kids. And, sometimes that I call it the inner bully, that voice that you talk about that is constantly criticizing and saying we say things to ourselves that we would never ever let anybody else say. We just simply wouldn't stand for it, and yet we do it to ourselves. But I noticed something. Kids tend to be so much, they're very unfiltered with what they say. And my 9-year-old, who at the time would have been probably about 7, had a bit of a rough day at school, and he came home and he was filled with that criticism for himself, but he was verbalizing it. And he was saying things like, I'm really stupid and I'm not good enough. And, no one wants me. No one wants to be my friend. And, I don't deserve this and that. Like, he was really going at it. And before I could jump on in and say anything, I realized, number one, where's he learning this from? But number two, that's how I have and probably still do. It's just that I'm a little bit more aware of it now. Speak to myself. And, I can't get upset about him doing it when I do it. What sort of example am I giving him when I can't speak to myself with more love and respect than what I do?
Yeah, absolutely. So true. And, if we can stop listening to ourselves and actually start speaking to ourselves, a really great part of transformation, Sam, is that awareness, because a lot of the times these thoughts or the way that we speak to ourselves, we're on autopilot and we don't even realize that we're doing it, right? And so the first step is to have that awareness, as you know. And so, even when I'm looking at changing a behavior that serves me and my family, I'll even just put a little alarm in my phone. So one of the ones that I've had recently come up for me in the morning is, how can I be more patient with myself today? Because the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves determines the quality of our lives. So if we ask ourselves a question like that, how can I love myself more today? How can I be kind and compassionate towards myself today? How can I be non-judgmental today of myself and others, of course, but of course it starts, here. And then we get creative, and then we start to find that we become resourceful and we find the solutions. Okay, well, this is how you can be patient with yourself today.
Yeah, I love that. And every day is another day too. That's the other thing that we sometimes forget. It's you can try again, if today didn't go so well, you've got tomorrow. And I heard someone, I can't remember who it was. It might have been a book I was reading a little while back where it said, why does it have to be about tomorrow? Why not? You know what? I'm going to try again in an hour. I'm going to reset every few hours. I'm just going to try again, treat, the next 3 hours like a new day. And that way it doesn't feel like, I've let another day go by where I've got it wrong. You just reset right now.
Yeah, totally.
That was great.
Yeah, how can I do that in this moment?
Yeah.
How can I love myself right here and right now?
Yeah. What can I change now? And I just think, really important to think to yourself, how would I be happy for my children to speak to themselves? And don't lower yourself to any standard other than what you would want your own kids to live up to. And that's had to be a constant reminder for me as well is, whoa. Would I be okay with my kids speaking like this to themselves? Nope. Okay. I need to at least be at the standard I want my kids to be at, because I want them to model and pay attention to what I'm up to.
So good.
So look, Cathy, you've obviously got a business that's got, several different arms at the moment. How have you had to pivot and adjust and change your business life over the last 18 months?
Yeah, it's been so interesting, So it really was dependent on some of my business. So I run a property and an investment business as well. So, juggling lots of things.
What's going on?
That was really impacted because a lot of that was, meeting clients one-on-one in person. So we had to really change to the online space. Within my coaching practice, Sam, that was really about, because I really love running live events and seminars for women and communities as well.
Yeah.
And for that connection, bringing like-hearted and like-minded women and people together on that journey. So I really had to pivot into the online space as well.
Yeah.
I was really challenged on how do I communicate, because obviously I was in my comfort zone. How I run my business. I really had to come out of my comfort zone and, work out some of this technology. And I'm telling you, girlfriend, technology is not my genius zone, right?
I don't care who you're talking to. I don't think anyone naturally just figures that out. I think it's one of those things that challenges every one of us in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I really just had to, again, be patient with myself and just learn the skill and just remind myself one baby step at a time, and just not put the pressure on myself, because I can get overwhelmed very easily. Life is so full. But keeping it really, really, really simple. So yes, it all kind of went online last year.
It did. And you know what? I think it's this constant transition. People think, last year was the year of going online. Well, it was the year before, really, wasn't it? It's like time flies. But the thing is that we're still, things are constantly adapting and changing. And what's really interesting is it's just sped up. It's just moving quicker, but there's new stuff coming out all the time, new things happening. Technology doesn't stop. So I love what you said about just number one, baby steps. All you have to do is move forward. It doesn't matter at what pace. But that being patient with yourself and being kind to yourself, it's acknowledging that it's hard and a challenge, but embracing that at the same time. Yeah,
absolutely. And just being kind to yourself, give yourself the space to learn, and again, reach out for help if you don't know how to.
Yeah. So a little, left of center question here though, Cathy. Let's say that we hear somebody else speaking about themselves in a way that is, not cool. They're talking themselves down. And, I hear this on a daily basis, people really putting themselves down. And I think it's easier sometimes to catch someone else out than it is to catch yourself out. Have you got any, like little phrases or things that we can say to one another when we notice those moments to build each other up?
Yeah. Really just asking that question. One of the things I love to ask is, I'm just curious, do you speak to everyone like that?
Yep.
Do you speak to yourself like that? Have you caught yourself out speaking like that? And I'm just wondering, why do you speak to yourself like that?
Yeah.
And it just really opens up that conversation to maybe even just, peel those onion layers off as to where that's come from. Because a lot of the times those can be whispers from elsewhere as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, from perhaps what other people have said to us, but we've taken that on board. I know that was a really big one for me. I heard some things that were just not true, but I actually thought that I was not good enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't really my belief, but I believed it because
you start to absorb it, don't you? Yeah. No, I think that's really great, asking the questions. I think sometimes you see people saying these things and you think, are they just looking for me to compliment them, or are they, the question is, how do we help one another and, I guess, empower one another versus, helping them keep that cycle going?
Yeah, definitely.
So, look, Cathy, we're going to get into some fun questions in a sec, but I'm sure a lot of our listeners thinking right now, well, if I want some more help in this space, if I want to do a little bit more, I guess, soul searching and maybe we've got some listeners that haven't really begun that journey, but they're looking to embark on a journey of self-discovery and development in that space. What are some of the ways that people could reach out to you or connect with you, or have you got any opportunities coming up that our listeners might be interested in that could be helpful?
Yeah, I run a beautiful Facebook community called She Rises, Purpose and Prosperity. And in one of the sections there, I have lots of tools and resources that you can, download PDFs. There's mastermind classes in there. There's YouTube clips. There's a whole bunch of different material that you can access and just work through, at your own pace. That you've got an opportunity to get your little hands on. You can actually find that through my website, actually, which is www.cathyfeenan.com. And there's a little box there that you can click on. It'll take you straight to that Facebook community, which is always fun. Lots of beautiful, like-hearted women, again, that are on the journey, and we get to support each other on that journey.
Amazing.
And I'm really excited about a program that I've actually got coming up that's launching towards the end of August. And it is a mastermind group. So it's where we get together.
August.
Oh, April. Did I say August?
You did. No, I think it's in April. Yeah.
It is in April.
Probably also in August. Depends on when you're listening to this episode. Too. But you've got them coming up and they're sort of popping up from time to time, yeah?
That's right. And so that's an online course. It's a mastermind community, and we get together on an ongoing basis, and we get to do that inner work and that deeper work together and have fun and celebrate as well along the way.
Awesome. I love that. Well, what we'll do, we'll pop the links to those in our show notes as well. So if anyone wants to check out your website, your free community, or find out a little bit more about that mastermind group, they'll be able to get that information in there. So we'll pop that in the show notes. And thank you so much for that opportunity for people to join that community. I think that will be really powerful for many of our listeners. So if you are fascinated to hear a little bit more, you want to, get some more help in that space, or you're interested in any of those resources, I think that's amazing. So thanks for your generosity there, Cathy. I really appreciate you.
You're so welcome.
So let's jump on into these fun questions because I'm really curious. These are really for me. I'm really curious to see what you've got to say. Everyone else can just be a fly on the wall, but here's what I want to know. What's your favorite book for us to add to our accelerator book list?
Yeah, so my favorite book is actually called The Angel Inside. It's one that I come back to all the times by a gentleman by the name of Chris Widener. Yep. And, I really love that because it talks about where almost like, I remember going on one of the trips actually to see my family over in Italy. And I remember walking into Florence, into the Basilica there. And there's the big statue of David, and, just think about the artist and everything and how they just chipped away at all the chunky coal and the dirty bits of this, this magnificent piece of marble. And every time they chipped away, they just kept on discovering this angel that was inside, which kind of reflected, and it really resonated with me that we can just keep on chipping away on our journey and keep chipping away until the angel is set free. And so that's a great book that I love coming back to.
Oh, I love that. What an amazing analogy too. No one will see the statue of David the same way again. So Cathy, if you could have one superpower, what would that be and why?
Oh gosh, my superpower would be just to really, I'm going to get really emotional here, but just to really bring home just how valuable you are as a human being, to know that you're so worthy, that you're so loved and that you were born for a purpose and that you're here for a reason. So if I could just instantly have that belief and that truth become so instilled in another person, I would ask for that magic wand superpower tomorrow.
Oh, that's an amazing one. And I just think what a world we would live into if everybody just loved themselves a little bit more. We talk about everyone loving each other more, but I think that comes from us just it's very hard to love someone else if you can't love yourself, right?
Absolutely. Can't give away what we don't have ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Such a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. So favorite quote.
Yes, favorite quote. When we change the way that we look at things, the look of things change, by Dr. Dwayne Dwyer.
Oh, what a
All
good
about
one.
perspective.
Yep.
We often, as human beings, we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts every single day, and 80% of them are negative. So we often look at the things that are happening for us in our life, the traumas, the setbacks, the failures, and we often look at those through the lens of, well, what did I lose, or what did that take away from me?
Yeah.
But when we choose to look at the polar opposite of, okay, what was the blessing in that? What did it actually give me? How did I grow? What was the benefit? When we change that perspective, and we can equilibrate, we can really just find the balance in that, finding peace in our life.
Yeah, so good. All right. So last question here. If you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, Cathy, what would that be?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I would say you're so valuable. You're just so valuable. You're a child of God. You were born to be prosperous. You are so deserving of abundance. You are just so valuable.
Yeah. Do you know, true story, I actually, after Levi started speaking these things into himself, and I was like, what am I going to do about this? So what I started doing, someone had told me that, where our brains are quite susceptible to when we're asleep, taking on information. So I started whispering to him after he fell asleep, you are amazing. You are loved. You are valuable. I was like, I wonder if I can do you know where it came from though? A Friends episode.
I love that.
Do you know the one I mean, where Chandler records himself talking to Chandler gets a tape that he plays at night to help hypnotize himself to stop smoking. And so Joey learns of this and goes and records over the top of it, you will buy Joey a sandwich, this sort of thing.
Oh,
it's like, I wonder if that really works. If hypnotism while you're asleep really works, I'm going to try this on my kids. So
absolutely. And have fun with it, because oh my goodness, we only live once, and sometimes we can just get so serious on this journey, but it's really important that we lighten up as well. So if it means whispering into someone's ear for them to transform their life,
get someone to whisper into your ear. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I don't need to eat that chocolate anymore. Yeah. Oh dear. No, been really great chatting with you today, Cathy. And like I said, I feel like we could talk about this stuff for days and days. And it's, I really hope, if nothing else, that some of our listeners out there today have heard this and gone, do you know what? Yep, I've got some stuff I need to take on board there. And the thing is, everything that you're saying, Cathy, it may seem like it's working on yourself and it's pointless, but we can't have that dream or that business or, that go on that journey that we really want to go on until, we go on this internal journey. So I think it's really powerful. So thank you so much for sharing today and for being so generous with your time and joining me on the podcast. Really appreciate you. And we'll pop, of course, those links into the show notes as well for anybody that wants to check those out. So thank you so much, Cathy.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel so honoured and just so grateful for the opportunity to connect with you all and, just have some fun and really, make an impact and a difference in your own life, and so that we can go ahead and we can change the world together for the highest good of all. It's such an exciting time.
Awesome. And everyone just go out tonight and dance in your kitchen, right?
Yes, with the whisk.
Get the whisk. Yeah. So if a wooden spoon will do as well, we're not picky, but go have a dance. Put your 80s music on and go have a dance. And, you know, if you can record it and share it, we'd love to see.
Amazing. Good
Facebook.
fun.
We want Facebook to be bombarded with videos tonight of people dancing in their kitchen. Families won't know what hit them. I love it. Thank you again so much, Cathy. And thanks everyone for tuning on in and joining us again this week. We look forward to catching up with you all again next week on the podcast. So God bless everybody, and we'll see you again in 7 days. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.